If you have ever felt like there just aren't enough hours in the day to grow a business and to be the mom that you want to be, this conversation is absolutely for you. Today, I'm joined by Jenny Suneson, a business mentor for mom entrepreneurs who teaches women how to build a sustainable business in 20 hours a week or less without sacrificing time, energy, or well being. Hold the mic. Her work is all about creating momentum in the margins and redefining what success can look like in this season of life. Welcome to the podcast, Jenny. I think this is going to be such a great conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and this is really one of my favorite topics, so I am really excited to jump in.
We're so aligned and we have such a similar mission to help moms realize that they can start and grow a business in the margins during nap time when they have availability and build a life that works for them instead of constantly trying to be something or have something that's just not sustainable.
Yeah.
So, for our listeners, please forgive me. My voice is recovering from COVID this week. Definitely wasn't on my bingo card for this week, but that's what being a mom and an entrepreneur and a podcaster is all about. You roll with it. So that's what we're doing today. So let's start with your journey, Jenny. Tell us about what your early experience was like with motherhood and business. And when was the moment that you realized that, you know, the hustle culture wasn't sustainable for you and you needed to do something differently?
Yeah, so I actually have a unique experience compared to a lot of mom entrepreneurs because they start their business after having kids. And I actually started my business before I had kids. So I started my business back in 2016 when I was still in corporate, went full time in 2017, and then I didn't have kids until 2020. So I had quite a bit of time with a business without kids. And obviously, the way you run a business with and without kids is going to differ. So basically, when I had my son in 2020, I was like, holy cow. Like, we were also in the middle of the pandemic, too. So that was a
Mm,
factor. But also, just like going from running a business without kids to running a business with kids, I had to change pretty much everything.
mm,
So, that took a lot of shifting. And, I tried to set myself up prior to having kids to make it more sustainable, but you don't really know what it's going to look like until you
mm,
actually are there. So, I helped myself a little bit, but it still wasn't to where it needed to be as a mom. So once I had my son in 2020, I really kind of had to reinvent everything, rebuild everything. I still am a service-based business owner, and I have like a secondary, like in addition to mentoring moms, I have a secondary business where I do podcast management and podcast production, stuff like that. And that is like, my core business. So I really need to figure out how to streamline that service-based business because, I didn't have the same amount of time that I did previously. I had a newborn and then he stayed home with me until he was one. And then I had him start daycare after that. So that whole first year was definitely kind of crazy trying to figure out how to make things work in, the nap time hustle essentially. And I was trying to do everything at once and I just felt like I was constantly behind. Like I just honestly, and then I realized, yeah, something needs to change because this is just not working for me. Once I came back from maternity leave, I was like, okay, I tried it for a week or two and I was like, yeah, this is just not going to work. So I was trying to squeeze in work into nap times, in the evenings, answering emails like randomly while I'm holding my son in one hand and, my phone in the other. I never felt like I could fully like take a moment off. Like my brain was constantly on, no matter if I was with my son or if he was napping or if it was nighttime. I just was constantly like trying to fit stuff in wherever it worked. And it was kind of stressful, to be honest. And what I thought was that I needed to manage my time better, but it was much more than that. What I was trying to do was I was trying to fit this business model into a life that just didn't make sense for that business model. So I had to really like strip things back, get rid of a lot of things that I was doing that was fun, but it just absolutely didn't need to be done. It was like, or, it might have been necessary, but it didn't need to be done by me. And I just kind of had to figure out what I actually needed to be doing and then go from there versus like trying to continue my business the same way I had prior to kids.
Yeah, I can so relate to that whole story because I don't think there's a mom, no matter when you start a business, that if you're trying to be a parent and run a business, kids also change so much that you're constantly, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but you're, even once you set it, you have to reevaluate it at times, whatever your processes are, because you know, you can think you're like, oh, okay, great, I'm now in this groove, and then either they have a new activity or a new nap time or something changes, school time changes, whatever that is. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle and it's definitely a balance too. You have to figure out like, maybe this season that you're currently in allows you to do more, but maybe the season that you're about to be in, say, as we're recording this, it is April going into May and it's about to be summer. A lot of moms' summer season is not the same capacity as their fall and winter season because
Mm-hmm.
typically, if you have a child that is in elementary school or beyond, they are in school for all these hours during the day and you have time to um, get things done unless, you're homeschooling or something. But
Mm-hmm.
it's when summer, unless you have a consistent camp that they're going to, it's different. And even if they are in camp, the hours are much shorter than your typical school hours. So every season we need to figure out and readjust and figure out what is going to work best for us. And I like to even just reevaluate every quarter because for me, like, the fall and the winter seasons are going to be much different than the spring and the summer seasons. Because spring is when I kind of start, I do have like a lot of like that spring energy and I'm really excited, but I also realize like, okay, we're about to be in the summer. I need to start like really preparing for the summer so that I can, when summer comes, I'm not like, oh my God, what have I been doing like and not feeling prepared. So yeah, so at each kind of quarter I kind of try to figure out like what is my current season. And then different things too. Like in the winter sometimes my kids are more sick than the summer and just planning around that. You obviously can't plan for every single scenario that's going to happen because it's just thing lifes and you just got to be, you got to be flexible in some ways too. But the more you can prepare, the better for sure.
Right. I can't agree more. I mean, it's like this week I've had to like throw everything out the window for myself. It's like even
Right.
not when the kids are sick. Like if you get sick too,
Hmm.
you have to learn to reevaluate everything. Um, so given that, I think so many mom entrepreneurs are frustrated because they're trying to fit themselves into expectations and systems and processes that those who don't have children or maybe have older children are trying to implement. So, where is it that things need to be different for mom entrepreneurs? And what are some of the things that you do to make business work for you and motherhood?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the time we see these business strategies and we try to apply them to our lives and they don't necessarily make sense. Most business strategies that are not built for moms, the people are assuming that we have unlimited time, unlimited energy, and unlimited consistency, and that is just not the case. I feel like most strategies are built for someone who can just sit down for 6 to 8 hours at a time, uninterrupted, and that's just not really the case for most moms. For me, my son and my daughter are both, my son's in kindergarten, about to go into first grade, and my daughter is in daycare. She's 2.5. And yes, they are in childcare, but that doesn't mean I'm spending every single moment that they're in childcare working because then my house would be a hot mess, right? Where I have other things I need to do that are not just working. And if I didn't do that, then my life wouldn't function properly. And it's not just about the business task, it's about the other things that you need to get done too, appointments, any errands you need to run, any house task you need to take care of, as well as making sure the business stuff flows. So you just need to kind of I have learned to listen to people who are in similar stages as me. So I'm not going to be listening to people who have zero kids or they their kids are like high schoolers or college students or things like that because they have a different life than me. They have a different schedule than me. They're not in the trenches with me with a 2.5 and an almost 6 year old. And yeah, I feel like a lot of people, and we can also listen to these people for things like, oh, if they're teaching us a strategy for learning Facebook ads, like that's not going to change no matter if you're trying to, you know, if you're a mom or not, right? Like Facebook ad strategy or like things more tactical like that. Like I feel like you
Mm-hmm.
can learn from anyone. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to learn how to like do your business as a whole, you need someone who's in a similar season as you.
Yeah, 100%. And I've had moms come to me and say they've been told that if they were actually really serious about their business, they needed to hire a nanny. Actually, no, you don't have to do that. And that's why I think it's so important to help moms. If that's what you want to do, then that's fine. But
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
really a
You don't have to.
conversation, right, about moms who, want to create a business that allow them to be the mom they want to be. And
Hmm.
so you alluded to you're not just working while your kids are at school or daycare or that kind of thing, that we have doctor's appointments, we've got all these other things in addition to being a parent and being a business owner.
Hmm.
And we were talking before we started recording about this invisible load.
Yes.
And so I think it's so important to shine a light on that. For so long we've had to hide the fact that we're even parents, I think, in the corporate world.
Yeah.
We didn't want anybody to think that we had all this other stuff going on because they might think less of us.
Yeah, like we're not dependable or they can't count on us because we're just
Right,
too busy thinking about all the other life things we have, not the
right,
work.
right. So I think it's so important to shine a light on that. And I don't know if you have any more to say about that other than just acknowledging it as a part of the conversation, because I think it's something that if we're not cognizant of and we're not communicating with, if we're lucky enough to have a helpful partner
Hmm.
to help us on, parent and manage the house and things like that, it just becomes this silent monkey on our back that we beat ourselves up about.
Yeah.
While other people are able to do things that we wish we could do, but we can't because we're not acknowledging all that we are doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like mental load of motherhood, it's like you said, it's really big and it's often invisible, like you said. You're not just managing your business, there's so many other things. There's kid schedules, planning meals, appointments, handling big emotions, things like that. Then that's just like things that people don't even think about. And it makes it harder for us to focus, harder for us to make decisions, and easier to get burnt out because you have so many things. It's not just the business or the household or the kids. It's everything all together.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like my brain, even when I do have, even though I do have assistants, my brain never shuts off. Like it
Mm-hmm.
literally never turns off. I'm constantly sitting there opening my notes app on my phone and adding something else to my to-do list, not just business tasks, but I got to remember to fill out this form for a field trip or put a load of laundry in or make sure that my kid has this specific shirt for,
Yeah.
school or practice or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
It's just like so many little tasks that we don't even think about because there's
Mm-hmm.
just so many decisions that we need to do and make every single day. And it's a lot.
It is. Do you have any ways that you kind of help manage that? I think it is helpful, like you said, putting things down
Hmm.
in a notes app or on paper or whatever that works for you to kind of take it off of your mind and like put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
For us, we way late in the game, we started having weekly meetings about everything that was
That's like going
going
on.
on the next week. And I'm like, why have we not been doing this? So that's something that really works well for us. But I don't know, do you have any things that work for
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I got one of those skylight calendar things.
Hmm.
So like writing all the stuff in there, like what needs to get done every day. There's like a function where you can like add in like chores and stuff. My kids aren't old enough for that quite yet because my son is just about to be 6. I feel like he's pretty much there, but like my daughter definitely is. I'm not gonna get my 2.5-year-old to like do like legit chores, like let's be honest. So yeah, there's like cool functions like that to make things easier. But I
Hmm.
think the most important first step is you just need to recognize that doing everything yourself is not the goal and it's not going to be
Mm.
the best thing for you to do. You
Right.
really need to figure out how to simplify your business, how to set clear boundaries, and even get in some smaller forms of support. Like I said, I have daycare. I have people who clean my house every other week. We have cleaners and things like that too. These
Hmm.
things are not luxuries. They are just really helpful and necessary. If you don't want to spend like all your time, like if you'd rather, I know for me, I'd rather spend more times with my kids and more time in my business than doing the
Mm.
household task and things like
Hmm.
that. So you're allowed to make things easier. And I feel like as moms and as women in general, we don't feel comfortable outsourcing or we're
Mm.
too scared to ask for help. And I think it's so crucial. Even just things like grocery pickup, that can be such a
Yeah.
small thing. It doesn't really cost much extra money, but like being able to drive up and get groceries in your car versus actually going to the store is a huge help. Or even if you want them delivered to your house, I know that's a little bit more expensive, but getting them delivered to your doorstep, and then plus you're not spending as much money, right? Because
Right.
you're just picking out things online. You're not getting tempted by the random things that you're seeing as you're browsing the aisles of the store.
Yeah.
So just the little things that can make your life easier, try to utilize them. And it doesn't have to be anything super frivolous or super expensive, but just try and find little things that you can invest in to get more support because you can't do it all.
Right.
You can be a mom and you can be a business owner, but you literally
Hmm.
cannot do absolutely everything. There is
Mm.
no way to do absolutely everything without burning out. Like
Yeah.
we're not superhuman. I wish we were, but we're not. So you got to figure out what matters the most to you and make it work. Even things like if you're really struggling with laundry or something like that, you don't need just give yourself the grace
Hmm.
to be like, it doesn't need to be perfectly folded. Like
Hmm.
maybe hanging all the clothes will work better because that's easier to do than sitting there and trying to fold tiny clothes. Or just figure out ways to make things simpler and easier for you. Or maybe your house is always messy and it bothers you. Maybe release that, like the feeling that your house needs to be perfect
Hmm.
because especially if you have young children, like they're gonna
Right.
mess it up in 10 seconds
They
anyway.
are.
So just have to give yourself
Yeah.
grace and figure out what is the most important to you in this point in your life. Because right now it might be just letting some things go. And maybe in a
Hmm.
couple of years when your kids are a little bit older, you can pick those things back up. So
Hmm.
maybe it's not sustainable right at this moment.
Yeah. Definitely. I think too, like I had a prior guest who mentioned that sometimes we can have it all, but not all at the same time,
Yeah.
or we
Yeah.
can do it all, but not all at the same time.
Yeah.
But two, one thing that I learned on this topic is, you know, being cognizant of all those things that you're doing and then asking for support,
Hmm.
you also can't then continue to take responsibility for whatever thing it is that somebody's supporting you with.
Yeah.
If you have to let it go if
Yeah.
you know
You
you
can't like micromanage every single
right.
bit of it because then it's not releasing the mental load from you.
Right.
It's just adding a different layer to it. It's like, sure,
Right.
you're not actually doing the task, but if you're micromanaging every like minute of it, it's like
Right.
you might as well be doing it.
Right. If you're fretting about how the shopper is going to pick out your grapes for your Instacart order, yeah.
Yes. It's like it's gonna be okay.
Right. Yeah, it's, and I've actually heard a story like that and it's like, that perfectionism that we talk about so much here, that is so much a part of this is just letting go of that. So I'm glad we just addressed the gorilla in the room.
Totally.
I'm really intrigued about this 20-hour work week. And I think our listeners are probably wondering, what does this really look like? So
Yeah.
let's talk about what 20 hours running your business actually looks like.
Yeah. So the first thing to note is that I am very intentional in this
Mm.
20-hour work week. And it took me a while to get to where I am now because I
Hmm.
used to go like squirrel brain mode and completely derail my week just because I got this wild hair and wanted to shift everything up. So, I mean, I still have moments like that, but it's few and far between now compared to what it was 2, 3 years ago. But every week I focus on a few core priorities. So number one is going to be serving my clients because that is my bread and butter. So I need to obviously make sure that is built into my week and I need to have that intentional blocks of time where I'm working on client stuff. The second thing is like content creation. So Unfortunately, as business owners, we got to create content. That's how we market our business. And it's not always everyone's favorite thing, but it needs to get done. So I have a content creation kind of block every week. It's either 1 or 2 times a week, depending on the week, because I like to batch and do things like that. So I have 2 podcasts myself, and I'm not always recording a new podcast episode every week. I'm batching it. Some weeks I'm doing one podcast, some weeks I'm doing the other, some weeks I'm doing like social content, different things like that. So content that connects to my offers, and then nurturing my audience and leading them to my offers is the third piece. So, um, spending time in my DMs and following up with people who express interest, sending out emails every week related to my offers, or I host a lot of events. So relating back to those events that are nurture events for my audience. So a big core piece of those events is just the nurture piece. They come to this event, they learn from me, and then they have a next step, whether that is like a program or working with me one-on-one or something. But I have to realize I can't do everything daily. I don't need to do everything daily. So I batch where I can. I repeat the processes and things that work, and I create systems that are gonna leave me so that I can do things like with with the creation of AI within the past couple years, I've been able to really lean into that too. And I don't use it for everything, but I've brainstormed with it to get these systems that really work for me. And yeah, and really just figure out what I can automate, what I can outsource, and what I can completely get off my plate so that I can actually have time to be a human, to spend time with my kids. And not only that, but also like not be spending every second on my computer, like when my kids are asleep as well. Because I remember I used to just spend every waking moment that I could on my computer, working. And now I'm able to unplug on the weekends. Sometimes at night I do work a little bit if I need to. If I had a day that was like call heavy or something, I couldn't work because, let's be real, we can't just work on calls, because we have to be, engaging in those. But, I really try to kind of take off nights and weekends so that I can actually like be a person, be a human, and not just be serving my business and serving my household and serving my kids. I want to pour into myself as well. And I think that's really important. And that's usually the ball that gets dropped first,
Yeah,
ourselves.
yeah.
So
Yeah, totally. So, with mom who's listening who only has a few hours a week right now and they're feeling overwhelmed, what would you say to them on those core activities that they should really be focusing on? And how can they identify those key priorities that are going to move the needle, which, I think is really hard.
yes.
And it didn't sound like you sit down, like you said, you're intentional. You're not
Mhm.
sitting down every day willy-nilly, like, oh, what am I going to work on?
Yeah, no, I don't spend time sitting down like, because that wastes so much time. You could spend 15 to 20 minutes just trying to figure out what the heck you're going to work on for the day. And then you lost 15 to 20 minutes just doing that. And then before you actually start doing anything. So the key priorities I focus on every week is visibility, conversion, and delivery. So visibility is getting in front of the right people, however you want to do that. Things like this podcast, being a podcast guest, hosting those events that I was talking about earlier, things like that, my own podcast, things like that. That's how I'm getting in front of people. The conversion piece is guiding them towards your offer. So in these podcast interviews that I'm doing on other people's shows, in my own podcast, in the events, I'm guiding them towards my offers. And then delivery piece is delivering a great experience. So, once they decide to work with me in one of my offers or become a one-on-one client, I am making sure they feel like they are being seen, heard, and appreciated because after they join, because otherwise they're not going to work with you again because they're like, oh, that was not a good experience. Cool, she got me here, but that was not great. But everything else is really just kind of supportive. But those are the three drivers I feel like you need to focus on when you have limited time. And just like those things that are directly connecting to revenue or relationship building, I think those are the key things we need to focus on. So things like recording a podcast episode if you have a podcast, following up with like any leads that you have, nurturing the people on your email list or in your audience in general, or working on improving your offer. You don't need to be like endlessly tweaking your website or overthinking your next Instagram post or whatever. Those little tiny like rabbit rabbit holes that we can go down. We need to not do that because we don't have time to be doing that. We need to be doing the revenue generating activities that actually matter and actually move the needle, not just like random things. And I feel like it's really easy to do these random things because it feels fun and you feel like you're being productive. But like at the end of the day, when you're doing those things, it makes you kind of want like, you're like, what did I even get done today? Because
Mm-hmm.
you didn't do anything that actually directly, move the needle forward. Sure, tweaking your website might convert someone in the future, but like you can't really measure that.
Mm.
So you want to be doing the things that you can actually measure that are actually going to get you results versus like the little tiny things that feel productive but aren't.
Yeah. No, totally. Um, so you mentioned like the busy season of summer, which
Hmm.
this episode is releasing in the summer,
Hmm.
and lots of moms are feeling like they have less time if, they have inconsistent schedules for whatever reason. So how can they find that momentum in the margins? I like that. That can help them be more consistent when they just feel like their schedule is all over the place.
Yeah, so momentum in the margins, I wanted to kind of define what that really means because
Yeah.
it's kind of the little I guess a phrase that I kind of started rolling with about a year ago. But it really means that you're building your business in the small pockets of time that you actually have and
Mm-hmm.
trusting that what you're doing is still moving the needle forward. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about like these big bursts of productivity. It's about this consistent aligned action, even if
Mm-hmm.
it's imperfect. And that's one thing we need to kind of realize like being a perfectionist is not going to help us in this season of life. So, for the love of all things holy, please just drop the perfectionism. I know it's hard. I used to be a perfectionist too, and it took me years to really just let go and release. But having kids really helped that because I realized if I keep doing this, I'm just not going to put anything out into the world and it's not going to be helpful for me. It's not going to be helpful for my kids. It's not going to be helpful for my household. So I need to just stop being a perfectionist and let go. Um, and when you have an inconsistent schedule, obviously it's hard. Summer can be difficult, but you need to redefine what consistent looks like. So it's not about doing the exact same thing every day for the exact same amount of hours every day. It's about staying connected to your business in a way that is flexible. So in the summer, some weeks we might be doing more, some weeks we might be doing less, but you just want to make sure you're not disappearing completely. That is kind of the key there. So you don't want to just like, unless you're on vacation or something,
Mm-hmm.
but you want to just make sure that even if you're not putting in or able to put in the same amount of effort that you did during the school year, that's okay. But make sure you're still showing up. Don't just be like, oh, I'm giving up for the entire 3 months of summer because I just can't think about it or I can't deal with it right now. Because then you're
Yeah.
going to come back late August, early September and be like, oh my God, where is my business? I feel like I don't have one anymore. And you'll be so out of the routine. It's really hard to get started. So preparing in advance and figuring out like what your schedule is going to look like. When do you actually have childcare, if any? When are your small pockets of time that you can actually work? Figure that out before summer hits because or at the very beginning of the summer if since this episode's going live in June. uh Figure out when you're going to be able to work because otherwise you're just going to be it's going to be chaos. You're going to be like 1 minute you're going to be at the pool and then the next minute you're like, oh, let me just send this email. And
Mm.
then you're going to be, putting your kids down for a nap or putting them down for the night. And then you're like, oh, I have 2 hours before I need to go to bed. Let me get it all done. And that's not fun for anyone. And like nights and days might be like that, but you don't want your whole 3 months of summer to be like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, really trying to plan, think ahead what that
mhm.
schedule might look like. It's really necessary to prevent that ongoing through an entire summer, which is no fun because I think I've been there. Um,
I feel like I'll have probably.
Especially when my kids are younger, it's definitely way less predictable. They want to go to the pool or go here, go there.
Hmm.
But when you set that schedule and you think about what you need to accomplish in that time you have, and you talk about it, you plan, you try to figure out what support you might need. That it's hard, but to stay committed, and then too, I think working in a flex day, not
Hmm.
making every day like every moment a planned work time, but really
Yeah.
give yourself like some flex time to catch up if you do have an unexpected thing that you got to take care of. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I like to kind of like create a weekly rhythm instead of like a
Mhm.
instead of a rigid schedule because I'm able to flex.
Mhm.
So, maybe I'm doing like one day for content, one day for client work, one day for like visibility, and then I have a flex day, if something went wrong,
Mhm.
then I can kind of fit whatever I need to there on that day. It really doesn't need to be perfect, and we've talked about perfectionism, like we just need to let it go. It just needs to give you direction and actually just so you're able to do what you need to do during this time that is, not as planned as your normal time. Because yeah, summer is just kind of all over the place. Some weeks
Mhm.
you have your kids in a activity or summer camp or situation like that. Some
Mhm.
weeks you might be out of town on vacation. Some
Mhm.
weeks your kids might be home just driving you nuts. So you just need to
Right.
figure out what's going to work and when it's going to work. And since it is only 2.5, 3 months, depending on where you live, it's not that long of a time to have it be a little stressful and a
Mhm.
little like more flexible than you're used to. So you just got to roll with it, but make it so that you're not entering fall feeling like
Yeah.
get super burnt out, super exhausted, and wanting to shut your business down because your summer was just so chaotic that it stressed you out and you're done and over it.
Right. Don't be afraid to do things like repurpose content
Hmm.
or, like you said, use AI to help you figure out a schedule and find
Hmm.
some focus. Those are great things to do. But for a mom that's listening to this and feeling overwhelmed, what are like three actionable shifts that they can make this week that can just help them grow their business with less time, maybe less overwhelm?
Yeah, I would say so. My three things are the first thing is I know a lot of people probably have more than one offer that they're actively promoting at a time. So I would challenge you to strip that back and just focus on one core offer, especially during the summer. Like focus
Mm-hmm.
on promoting that one core thing instead of trying to sell everything in your back catalog because that's not gonna it's gonna feel scattered. You're gonna feel scattered. Your audience is gonna be like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. So focus on this one core thing that you're wanting to put out there this summer. And you don't have to do like big launches or anything like that, but just whatever that one thing is that you want to sell, just sell that one thing. And even not during the summer. And honestly, having one offer can be kind of the magic solution for overwhelm in a lot of scenarios, not just summer. The second thing is to kind of pick your one visibility channel, whether that's social media, your own podcast, podcast guesting, or whatever that is, and go all in on that one channel because you're going to see so much better results when you're really actively putting your time and energy into this one thing versus trying to spread across 20 different visibility platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially in the summer months and times that you don't have as much time to batch or get things done. I would recommend that. And then the last thing is to create a simple weekly plan instead of winging it every single day. And I feel like in summer, a lot of people are probably doing that because they just don't know. Like it's just, they don't feel like they can plan because it's just one, like you said earlier, one day your kids might want to go to the pool, the next, maybe they want to go see a movie. The next, you're just hanging out at home and it's hard to plan. So just
Mm-hmm.
create like a simple weekly plan. It doesn't need to be rigid. It can definitely be flexible, but having some sort of plan, like this is what I need to get done this week. These are the three things I need to get done this week. Doesn't matter if it happens on Tuesday or by Sunday, as long as it gets done during that course of that 7-day period. So
Mm-hmm.
those are my three kind of tips to make it easier when you are kind of struggling with having less time.
Yeah. I think those are really great tips. And just a reminder to listeners, it gets to be easy. I
Yeah.
think we get so wrapped up in this, like, it has to be hard and I have to, like, be stressed and juggle all the things. And so I think we're both here to remind listeners that it does get to be easy
Yeah.
and just putting a little intentional thought and planning ahead of time, even though that might feel weird to you because you're just in reactive mode, which
Yeah.
is so easy to find yourself in when you're trying to be all the things, especially when kids are little. But you just feel like, oh my gosh, at the end of the week, just imagine how you would feel if you got all of the things on your list done.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So
Yeah. Don't
that's
overload
wonderful.
your list too. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people try to do like they're like, I want to do these 50 things this week. And it's
Right.
like, okay, well, are those 50 big tasks or 50 small tasks? Because if they're 50
Right.
small tasks, you might be able to do it. But they're 50 like big tasks, like the task is to, create an entire event, like
Mm.
that has 50 small tasks underneath that
Right.
one big task.
Right.
So yeah, you just need to figure out what I would say three things you want to get done every
Yeah.
single week, like three bigger things, right? And then
Yeah.
each day work towards that bigger thing. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if you try to overload yourself with tasks, you're just
Mm-hmm.
going to feel stressed out because your list is you're going to be checking things off, but it's never going to reach the end. You're every day you're going to be like, "Oh, I still have like 20 things on my list," you
Oh,
know? So
yeah.
who wants that? So,
No, no. And even if three feels like too much, choose two or one.
hmm hmm
And when that becomes manageable, add one more thing.
yeah.
And so just don't beat yourself up about it. Progress over perfection.
hmm
And I think you really offered some great tips and great reminders for moms listening. So, where can listeners connect with you and learn
hmm
more about your services?
Yeah, so the best place to find me is actually my podcast. It's called the Sustainable CEO Mom Podcast. And yeah, I publish weekly episodes, and that is my favorite place to hang out on the internet, aside from being a guest on other people's podcasts.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if you check me out over there, then you'll be able to figure, out where my website is and all the other things. But yeah, that is just my favorite place. And if you guys like Angela's podcast, then I feel like you'll probably
Yeah.
like mine too. So go check
Yeah.
it out.
I love that. Yeah, it's like podcasting is so perfect for moms. We
Mhm.
can do it when we can, like in the margins,
Yes.
and put it out there and really create that intimate relationship with those who want to work with us or
hmm
connect. So,
Yeah.
such a great
No.
medium. So,
Yeah. It's
thank
perfect
you so
for,
much.
yeah. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I had so much fun.
Yeah, thanks. I'm so glad my voice hung in there today. Thanks, Jenny.
Yeah, of course.